I must talk hockey with you.
Thank you.
Now, trade deadline's approaching. We have talked the Bees every which way possible. But what we haven't done is really zoomed out and looked around the league. Mm-hmm. Who are some of the names? Who are some of the teams? New faces, new places that you think could happen by the deadline?
Yeah, and it's coming up very quickly. Yep. I know that one of the top names kind of getting kicked around here, especially because of the initial surprise in season, Mikko Rantanen. It's where is he going to go now? It doesn't sound like he's sticking around in Carolina. And it's interesting to think that, like, there was the Finnish connection. There were some connections there where you thought that he'd be okay with his career being maintained in Carolina, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The last thing I heard that kind of had a bit of a stronghold on it, I believe from Elliot Friedman, was that the West Coast was becoming a destination for him and that the Kings could potentially use him on his roster. I could understand this to a degree because you're talking about a Kings team that tends to come up pretty stout defensively, especially throughout the top of the season. You're talking about a Kings team that makes it really hard to score on them, and then things start to fall apart. And it falls apart because they rely on the same 2-3 guys to get scoring done, and scoring depth is so crucial. Rantanen's a playmaker. He makes things happen. He could feed the puck. He can find the back of the net himself, and we see that after he gets acclimated in a system. So I also feel like he's going to want to go back against Colorado. So I can definitely see him heading out west. On another leg, Brock Nelson. And I feel bad because he just had a super emotional interview. You can tell that, like, he really does not want to leave Long Island. And it says a lot because Long Island, New York teams right now, they're kind of really struggling identity-wise. And you're talking about a veteran presence that he's been a 30-goal scorer still. You know, last season, put up 30. That's not an easy feat, especially at a player at his time of his career. So he can bring in a leadership presence. If he has the right supporting cast, he can go for another, the season right now, he can't be a 30-goal guy, but he can give you another year or two or a bit of a boost. So he'd have to stay within the East, but it doesn't sound like he wants to move about. And you just don't know too many teams, at least in that top 5 when it comes to the East, that are looking for that kind of veteran presence, if we're being honest. If they are, it's more on the back end. When it comes to scoring, everybody wants to try to match toe-to-toe for speed, and then everybody wants to try to go toe-to-toe for bringing in some depth scoring. So even though I said he can probably lean towards the depth scoring category, the age and everything's not that appealing. So maybe the Isles will try to find a way to appeal to them, since they're such a mess in terms of, like, what their identity looks like, because there's no build there.
Yeah, I actually look team-wise. I look at some of these playoff teams, like the Panthers, right? They're loaded. They're such a great team. They're a complete team. But with Tkachuk out, I think, like, they have cap space. Do they make a move for a forward? Do they get a defenseman? Maybe. I don't know. The Maple Leafs always choke come playoff time, and it's usually because of defense. And I feel like every trade deadline, I'm like, go get defense. And they don't. This could be the one that they decide, hey, you know what? We should try to add some defenders here and maybe not choke in the playoffs. They still will. But here's a big one. I want to run this by you because you know I'm crazy. I really like this Kings team.
Oh.
And they are top 5 ranked in defense. Their defense is always solid, but they can't score. They're like bottom half of the league in terms of rankings for scoring.
Unless Kempe's doing it.
I know that there's an injury concern here, but am I crazy to think the Kings pick up the phone, call Boston, and say, hey, Brad Marchand, getting towards the end of the career, give him a chance to win here. We'll restructure something in terms of the money. Is that worth a call from the Kings to the Bruins? Would you entertain it?
No.
So I'm nuts.
Yeah, just a little. Just on the little side. The only reason I'm kind of like, the picture painting was fantastic.
Yeah.
The adjustment to the West Coast play and stuff like that, I couldn't really see if Marchand really did move on from the Bees. I feel like it would stay, within the East. To be impactful, that is. Because the degree of separation and where Marchand's play would come in and what the Kings need, I couldn't imagine it being an immediate boost. And that's nothing against Marchand's play or where the Kings lie. Like, there just needs to be another piece there that works alongside of Marshy there. Outside of that, though, you're right. The Kings need to add to their scoring ability because it can't just be Kempe. I thought Fiala, he's in the mix. He's been tremendous. I wonder if the Kings can have a little conversation with the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, Who we talking there?
I wonder if there's some. I feel like I butcher his name all the time. Alex Tuch.
Okay.
I feel like he could be a fit in the terms of like there's chemistry, there's old ties between some of the players on that roster and stuff. So like you go there, you work with guys that you can elevate their play, but you can get the job done too because he's done it a lot for the Sabres.
Okay.
So I wouldn't mind him swinging out west. I mean, it seems he was tied to the Lightning heavily, but it sounds like the Lightning are going in a different direction, and they're not going to still try to reach for him at the same time.